Ignition start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
The insurmountable surge of UFO sightings, alien encounters, and military disclosures over the last decade have established a foreboding reality that in our very near future, the human race will be confronted with the presence of a superior extraterrestrial race. Powerless to resist or combat these beings, we as the human race will be sentenced to our inescapable fate. Will they consider us sentient beings and foster our growth and evolution? Or will they have more nefarious intentions? Will we face total annihilation and extinction? That day of reckoning will soon be upon us. Are you prepared? The recent acceleration of the extraterrestrial presence has put the US military and government agencies on high alert. In early 2019, the US Navy issued new classified guidelines on how to report encounters in response to the unknown advanced aircraft flying into or near Navy strike groups or other sensitive military facilities and formations. This response was prompted by a 2014 incident when the USS Nimitz encountered supersonic aerial crafts performing maneuvers light years beyond our current technological capabilities. The advanced video was released to the public and sent a shockwave throughout the UFO community. Defense Department experts have identified technological traits of these crafts that defy explanation. Unlike any unknown man-made aircraft, these vessels have a unique ability to defy Earth's gravity with no visible means of propulsion. They will accelerate or abruptly change direction, performing maneuvers that would crush human pilots from the G-forces. The objects can drop from the sky at more than 30 times the speed of sound. And, according to a Black Aces squadron commander, the unearthly movements were similar to a ping-pong ball. Radar operators tracked the objects traveling at an astounding 3,600 miles per hour, a far cry from our fastest aircraft in the US arsenal, the Super Hornet fighter jet, with its 1,200 miles per hour limit. The mounting concern from the government and military is the absence of explanation of what these crafts are, where they come from, and who is piloting them. Compounding the mystery is the truth of science. What if an aircraft travels faster than the speed of sound? It typically leaves signatures such as vapor trails and sonic booms. These crafts exhibited none of those traits and appeared to have cloaking abilities, attributes that are light years removed from our current technologies. In the Nimitz incident, witnesses saw the craft hovering over a disturbance just under the ocean's surface, leading to speculation that a second craft had entered the water. A former United States Air Force intelligence expert claims he saw reports of a Los Angeles-class submarine seeing the identical craft traveling underwater. At first, it was thought to be a torpedo, but the fastest speed of a torpedo is 230 miles per hour. The craft they witnessed reached a speed of 550 miles per hour. Since the Nimitz revelation, it has been disclosed that the Navy has more definitive video evidence of the unearthly craft, but it has yet to be released. A Navy spokesperson stated that it has not been classified as top secret. The footage is claimed to be 10 minutes long and displays much more visual clarity. A campaign is underway to declassify this footage and release it to the public. Christopher Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, recently stated, "We know that UFOs exist. This is no longer an issue. The question is, why are they here? Where are they coming from? And what is the technology behind these devices that we are observing?" There are indications, Mellon said, that the objects reported by Navy pilots in 2014 and 2015 were performing feats that aren't possible in our physical realm. This has caused grave concern in Washington about the national security of our nation, contending with advanced technologies and presumed life forms from another world. Mellon added that pilots observing these craft are absolutely mystified, which comes through clearly in their public statements. The near mid-air collisions between pilots and the unknown crafts constitute a national security issue, which is that our sovereignty is being violated by vehicles of unknown origin. More recently, it has been revealed that the Pentagon has established a UFO research program called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, whose goal is to standardize collection and reporting on sightings of unexplained aerial vehicles. Within 180 days of some of these newer findings, the program will release them to the public after passage of the Intelligence Authorization Act. In 2019, UFO sightings in North America alone jumped to a record-breaking 6,000 sightings, a startling jump from 2018's 3,395 sightings. According to a spokesman for the National UFO Reporting Center, one of the mysteries of ufology is the fluctuation of the number of reports over the years. Some years it's been low, but it's gotten higher recently. A recent UFO phenomenon that has increased in the last year are snake-shaped crafts, witnessed by countless people across the globe, who describe the cylindrical objects as moving though they were alive. Numerous videos and photos have been documented, and it has been alleged that the government is silently monitoring them. A witness and former police detective stated that the US government knows what they are, but nobody's talking. The eerie objects ignited headlines in July of 2019, when sightings occurred in the Mojave Desert, New York, Colorado, and Washington State. Photos and videos taken worldwide have established these crafts to have the same form. In August of 2019, a witness residing in the village of Clayville, New York, saw one of the tubular objects in the sky and managed to capture the craft on video. He shared the video evidence with the British Earth and Aerial Mystery Society, also known as BEAMS, who posted the footage online. A witness and former police detective stated that the US government knows what they are, but nobody's talking. The phenomenon has been witnessed across the Earth and remains an unsolved mystery. Another British organisation, Prufos, was established in 2002 and has since compiled a database of reliable UFO sightings witnessed by active and retired police officers. Through multiple submissions of Freedom of Information requests, Prufos discovered unreleased cases that were suppressed to the public. In 2016, they stated that the US government and military know much more about ET visitation and suspected that only 10% of the truth about UFOs and ET contacts had been disclosed. This leaves 90% of hard evidence in the secret world of military intelligence. Another global phenomenon is the triangular UFO. Seen in the skies for nearly 3 decades, sightings of these unusual crafts spiked in 2019 that produced credible witness accounts and visual evidence. One such incident, reported by MUFON, was case number 93741 that took place on July 29, 2018, in Heston, Texas. The witness was in his parked car on a company parking lot, observing cloud lightning as a storm passed at 5:35 a.m. It was then that he noticed lights coming into view out of the driver window above the car. He spent a few minutes trying to determine what it was. Traveling roughly at 5 knots, flashes of lightning illuminated the shape of a triangle craft just 500 feet above, with 3 white lights at its points and 1 red light centered on its bottom. The craft moved slowly and in a perfect straight line. The witness further stated that the craft emitted no sound and the exterior lights were unwavering. MUFON closed the case as unknown aerial vehicle. In the late hours of May 1st, 2018, a triangular craft passed over the British capital. According to the witness testimony, the UFO was black and triangular, with round lights on each of its corners, and moved silently through the sky. The craft also shimmered and glitched as if engaging or disengaging some form of cloaking technology. It has been speculated that the triangle UFOs are part of a US secret military black program, harnessing state-of-the-art technologies the public is unaware of. But according to an ex-US official who conducted oversight of US black programs, he never saw anything of this kind. When the question was raised if the military had this form of aerial technology, the answer was absolutely not. He stated, "There does not exist a man-made super-secret black triangle that can go at hypersonic speeds. It isn't one of ours." Secondly, the official stated that a technology like this is so radical, it can't just appear out of nowhere. There would have to be facilities, research and development, then a prototype. The official saw no evidence of this anywhere. Thirdly, the triangular crafts have been observed operating in and around carrier battle groups that are armed with air-to-air missiles. This would pose a risk to test personnel by flying them in an uncoordinated fashion against carrier battle groups. The official concluded, "That's just not how we operate."
One of the things that I think is of most interest and importance is and I don't think they are connected, but I think there's an indirect link because precedents are set, but the ongoing program to release UFO files in a number of different countries. Obviously the British government commencing in May 2008 and running on to the present, and probably there's another year or 2 to go. British government is declassifying and releasing its archive of UFO files. The French government released theirs in 2007. There's material that's come out from Canada, from Brazil, from Denmark, from a number of other countries. And I think this is very interesting. I think actually it says good things about freedom of information and open government. Whether governments have done this willingly or whether in some cases they've been dragged kicking and screaming into that decision by a combination of the UFO community and the media and people making pretty smart targeted FOI requests, I don't know, but we are where we are and it's an interesting situation. We know an awful lot more now about Air Force and government involvement with this subject and some of the cases they've investigated than we knew 2 or 3 years ago.
The general belief is that the UFO phenomenon began in the 1940s with the infamous Kenneth Arnold encounter with alien crafts, as well as the Roswell crashed saucer incident. But what may shock many is one of the earliest documented UFO events in American history. On July 13th, 1860, the Wilmington Tribune reported an incident that has never been explained. The article stated, on July 13th, 1860, a pale blue light engulfed the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Residents looked up to the evening sky to see its source, a 200-foot-long object cruising on a level course 100 feet above. Tailing behind the craft at 100-foot intervals were 3 very red and glowing balls. A fourth abruptly joined the other 3 after shooting out from the rear of the main object, which was giving off sparkles after the manner of a rocket. The lead object turned toward the southeast, passed over the Delaware River, then headed straight east until lost from view.
Here's another reason the UFO topic might be of interest to just an ordinary person who's never given us a thread of thought in their life. And it's this. What if you've gone through your whole life thinking that your reality consisted of this, and this, of that ball game, your family, and some of your hobbies and recreations. And let's say this is how you see your life. Simple everything. The reality of the UFO phenomenon could very well transform what you think you even are as a human being. Because if, let's just say, you have the example of a non-human intelligence that's operating on levels beyond anything you imagined, intellectually, in terms of consciousness perhaps, what that means is that gives us an example of potentials that we may not have achieved ourselves. What I'm suggesting is that the UFO phenomenon can be a stimulus for an awakening, a discovery of who we actually are. And on an optimistic note, it might actually spur us into development as a species and as individuals to reach a much higher level of awareness of who we are than we'd ever thought possible before. That could be the upside, and I hope that that is the true side of what we're dealing with. There's a dark side to this, I believe, but there's, it's true that every crisis breeds an opportunity, and this crisis might bring us an opportunity for an awakening of who we are, rather than just, looking down at the ground and our feet in front of us and thinking this is our life, but it doesn't have to be like that. So, UFO phenomenon is one very excellent way to enable us to open our eyes and see who we really are and what our potential is.
I think that the UFO story, the whole reality about the UFO phenomena has to be told to people, because it's all about people. It's people who have been subject to the sightings. It's people who have been abducted. It's people who have had the contact. So people must know what's going on. No way a government from anywhere in the world should have the right to keep those information secret. People have the right to know what is happening, because at the last level, it's people who has been taken. If someone gets traumatized after an abduction, it's people. If someone gets scared because of visitation, it's people. If someone gets scared because their car got chased, pursued by UFOs in the middle of the night, it's people. So it's for the people that we should release that information. We all should force the government to release that information.
The information that was released to the public was always with the intent of indicating that everything could be explained. If you look through the Project Blue Book files, for example, you can find a number of sightings where the explanations don't make any sense in the context of the sighting. I don't think it's because the people who were doing the Project Blue Book investigations were stupid, but rather they had an agenda which was to play this whole thing down as much as possible. So where the rubber meets the road in ufology is the answer to this question. Are there any sightings that can't be explained by conventional phenomena? If there were no such sightings, I wouldn't be here. And I'm sure most of the other people wouldn't be here either. It's when you find that there are some sightings which can't be explained by ordinary phenomena, except by assuming, for example, witnesses or test instruments or devices suddenly went crazy during the period of the sighting and then reverted to normalcy afterwards. We have stories of people whose cars were stopped by objects flying over, and then afterwards everything worked fine. If you could imagine that the witnesses themselves went crazy during that period of time and completely confabulated whatever their story is, and then reverted to normalcy, then maybe you can then explain things like some amazing sightings, although it gets tougher when you have multiple witnesses, because then you have to assume that all the witnesses went crazy at the same time and saw the same thing while they were crazy. Came up with the same story. Well, the bottom line is I don't believe the claim of the Air Force that all sightings can be explained.
We have documents from the Brazilian Air Force, Army, and Navy about UFOs. So the first thing we did is, let's scan them all. Let's scan, digitalize, get in PDF format, at least 500 pages of documents. We have so far 430. It's all open on our website, which is ufo.com.br. Anyone seeking information about UFOs in our official level in Brazil can enter our website, can go there, download the documents, and there is no way the Air Force can come and say, we don't research UFOs. Oh no, sir? Excuse me, but what does that document tells us? With the rubber stamp saying secret or confidential, with drawings made by the Brazilian personnel when they were investigating UFOs in the Amazon, or in the interior of Minas Gerais, or in the interior of the state of São Paulo, including UFOs landed with aliens on the outside. Come on, we have it all.
While 62% of Americans believe in the extraterrestrial presence, considerable skepticism remains due to the lack of indisputable evidence. The validity of citizen encounters with UFOs or aliens is put into dubious question. The unsophisticated eye may not be able to distinguish a UFO from a military craft, a satellite, military flares, weather balloon, drones, or a natural atmospheric phenomenon. However, a witness account from a Navy pilot, an astronaut, an air traffic controller, a lieutenant colonel, and many more command the distinguished positions of credibility and integrity. Their accounts cannot easily be disputed, given their many years of experience with aerial crafts and unusual phenomena. Their sophisticated eye can identify what is natural or unnatural. Over the last few years, countless military, government, and aeronautical officials have come forward to tell their stories of UFO encounters. Each case is verified and has not been contested by the government or military. These individuals are speaking the truth. Here are their official quotes. Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon, was quoted as saying, "Yes, there have been ET visitations, there have been crashed alien craft, there have been material and bodies recovered. There has been a certain amount of reverse engineering that has allowed some of these crafts or some components to be duplicated. The question, how could it be kept secret, has not been kept a secret. It's been there all along, but it has been the subject of disinformation in order to deflect attention and create confusion so the truth doesn't come out. I believe it is a very important effort that we get congressional oversight of all this." Mercury and Gemini astronaut Colonel Gordon Cooper stated, "At Edwards Air Force Base, I was having some of the cameramen film precision landings. A saucer flew right over them, put down 3 landing gears, and landed out on the dry lake bed. They were out with their cameras towards the UFO, It suddenly ascended and flew off at a very high rate of speed, which was all captured on film. I had a chance to examine frames of the film, good close-up shots. There was no doubt in my mind that it was made someplace other than on this Earth. In my opinion, the military was worried it would panic the public if they knew that someone had vehicles with this kind of performance, so they started telling lies about it. Then they had to cover it up with another lie. Now they don't know how to get out of it. US Navy Commander Graham Bethune had this to say. The UFO was very large. It came up to 10,000 feet in a fraction of a second. I thought it was going to go right through us, so I disengaged the autopilot, pushed the nose over because I was going to go under it at the angle that it was coming toward me. We were not supposed to tell even our wives of our encounter. My boss later told me that they had a craft back there, and they did have ET bodies. Now, he's not the first one that has ever told me that. US Navy National Security Agent James Koff stated this. The UFO incident occurred on the USS John F. Kennedy in the summer of 1971. We observed a large glowing sphere over the ship. It looked huge. I would say it was anywhere between 300 or 400 feet to a quarter of a mile, depending on how high it was. A few days later, the commanding officer looked at the camera footage, and I will never forget this. He said, "I would like to remind the crew that certain events that take place on board a major combat vessel are considered classified and should not be discussed with anyone without a need to know." Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jonathan Weygant stated this. "It was buried in the side of a cliff. When I first saw it, I was scared. It was very strange. I think the creatures calmed me. It was unsettling. I think they were trying to communicate with me, I guess telepathically. It is really weird, and I don't believe in any of that stuff." Immediately after this, I was arrested. I thought they were going to kill me. He was saying, "Are you a patriot? Do you like the Constitution?" I said, "Yeah." He replied, "You have to sign these papers. You never saw this. I don't exist. And if you tell anybody, you'll just come up missing." US Air Force Security Officer Larry Warren revealed an unsettling incident. They said, "We're going to show you a film that might help you put in perspective what you gentlemen have witnessed." They ran the film. The best clip on it showed the berets of the 5th Special Forces in Vietnam with low scrub brush and a guy with a camera. He turns the camera and this giant green thing rises out of the brush very slowly and deliberately, below where they are, up to face level. Shrubbery and brush is falling off this massive thing. I'll never forget that in my life. The only reason I have my records is because I was advised to steal some of them by an Air Force colonel, because he said they would vaporize me. US Army Sergeant Clifford Stone disclosed his personal feeling about the matter. Can any government keep secrets, let alone the US government? The answer is unequivocally yes. The National Reconnaissance Office remained secret for many, many years. The mere existence of the NSA remained secret. I have been at locations where there are craft that did not originate on the face of this planet. While I was there, we saw living and dead bodies of entities that were not born on this planet. We are the enemy in this instance. The ETs have a perception of God. They are living, breathing creatures, as mortal as you and me. They have families, they think, they have loved ones, they have likes, they have dislikes, they have social culture. Not more than 24 UFOs had been retrieved by 1969 when I was briefed first. The entity was little bigger than the 3.5-foot tall entities that are a lot of times reported. I looked right into the eyes of this little creature. And you know, it's like you were seeing it, but everything is being pulled from your mind. It was reading my whole life. It's hard to describe what I really felt there. Your life up to that point goes by in seconds, and I mean, you are feeling everything. Defense Intelligence Agency analyst John Maynard recounted this exchange. I said, "Now this is supposed to be a system that tracks radar anomalies on Earth, right? He says, yep, that's what it does. So I ask, then why are half of them pointed towards outer space? Towards the moon? Towards areas that are just blank space? What are they looking for? He says, you've got to have a need to know to get an answer. We go back to a comment made by one of the astronauts when he stepped on the moon. It was the day after they got there, and he says, you're right. They're already here. It went out on the airwaves. I know several people who recorded it. It was quickly taken out of all the tapes that were publicly broadcast. NASA Department of Energy, Harland Bentley, revealed this. I was in a facility in California doing classified work. Our astronauts were doing a loop around the moon. I heard them say they had a bogey coming in at 11 o'clock. It was another type of ship. There were portals there that they could see in. They could see beings of some sort. They just took photographs. After a few thousand miles, they took off from the capsule and went away. McDonnell Douglas aerospace engineer Dr. Robert Wood shared this. I had access to special libraries, so we could go to the library that the Air Force ran and pour through top secret material. Since I was interested in UFOs, I'd look to see what they had. For about a year, I was getting quite a few hints. Then, all of a sudden, the whole subject material vanished. The entire classification for the subject just vanished. US Air Force Captain Robert Salas relates his UFO incident. My security guard says, "Sir, there's a glowing red object hovering right outside the front gate. I'm looking at it right now. I've got all the men out here with their weapons drawn." The nuclear-tipped warheads went into a no-go condition, meaning they could not be launched. We lost anywhere between 16 to 18 ICBMs. At the same time, UFOs were in the area and were observed by airmen. Bob Kaminsky headed up the organization to look at all aspects of these shutdowns. He was told by his boss that the Air Force said, "Stop the investigation. Do no more on this and do not write a final report." This is very unusual, especially in light of the fact that headquarters was stating this was of extreme importance.
I mean, think about the state of UFO research today. Compare it to any field within academia. All right, we've done a great job as UFO researchers, considering the fact that we don't get an income for what we do. We don't have any institutional support to speak of. We're just out there on our own doing our thing. Whereas in the academic world, it's very different. You're able to devote yourself full time. You have a salary. You have grants to do research. That is what's really needed, because this problem is so complex, it's so big, it demands the resources necessary for a lot of people to go in. I don't pretend that my word is the final word. I'm trying to provide a good first word so that we can continue this conversation down the road.
Well, the inflation theory article is sort of a breakthrough type of article in the sense that we got into a refereed journal, an article in which we proposed that investigation of UFO sightings could answer the question posed by Fermi's paradox. His paradoxical question was, where are they? And that was based on the idea that even back in 1950, people could argue that if there were an intelligent race somewhere in this galaxy, over tens of millions of years, it could colonize the whole galaxy, and we would have evidence of visitation. So the implied solution back in those days was, we're alone, we're not getting visitation, therefore we're the only intelligent race, intelligent creatures in this whole galaxy and maybe in the whole universe. That was the accepted explanation or resolution of Fermi's paradox. But in this paper, we've argued that modern theory, on two fronts. One, modern theory in terms of generation of life and intelligent life, suggests that if you can find suitable planets out there, intelligent life will eventually arise on these suitable planets. And nowadays we are finding planets out there for the first time. Back in 1950 it was all speculation, but now we do know, we have confirmation that there are solar systems out there, and the only further step to go is to actually detect an Earth-like planet. That may still be a while off, but in any event, there are planets circulating around suns. So the probability of a planet being capable of supporting life is increasing now. So the exobiological aspect is that the probability of intelligent life out there has increased from beyond what it was in 1950.
To compound the expanding wealth of UFO accounts and sightings, the Royal Air Force announced it will unseal UFO files with records online within the first quarter of 2020. A Ministry of Defense spokesman said it had been assessed that it would be better to publish these records rather than continue sending documents to the National Archives. So they were looking to put them onto a dedicated gov.uk webpage. Mysterious lights emanating from what appear to be spacecrafts jettison out of the Earth's atmosphere. Just as the objects come into focus, NASA's live video feed from the International Space Station is abruptly cut off. A growing pattern has emerged over the years. Continual incidents of alien crafts caught on camera hovering over the Earth's atmosphere, or in some cases, departing Earth on course to deep space. Videos of these incidents shared on YouTube have received millions of views and created a public awareness of a deliberate conspiracy to cloak the truth by NASA. One avid observer of the video feeds stated that UFOs do appear regularly, and like clockwork, NASA cuts the feed when the UFO gets close to the station. July 2016. A mysterious object appeared moving towards the International Space Station. A viewer of the live feed stated that it was diamond-shaped. As the object neared the station, the transmission was suddenly terminated. January 2017. An observer was viewing the live feed when suddenly the feed cut out. Seconds later it came back on and a mysterious object appeared. He stated that at first it was small, then grew bigger, lasting 25 seconds. He commented that it must have been an alien craft due to its odd maneuvers and altitude. December 2018. During the docking of the Dragon capsule with the International Space Station, a triangular object was seen passing over. Within seconds of the craft's appearance, the feed was cut. March 2019. During a routine maneuver of a mini shuttle on the exterior of the ISS, a strange light appeared in the distance. The light gradually got closer to the orbiting laboratory. A viewer who witnessed the craft stated that he saw the object further away a few hours earlier. Gradually, the object moved closer, about 30 to 50 meters away from the station. He described the anomaly as massive in size and partially cloaked. But soon it was revealed by sunlight bouncing off it. He added that when the shape came into focus, it appeared to be a thick, round cylinder with a complex texture. Suddenly, the live feed was terminated. Soon after, NASA cancelled its all-female spacewalk due to lack of enough suits. But it is widely speculated that this wasn't the real reason for the cancellation. November 2019, a Russian ISS cosmonaut noticed 3 crafts nearing the station. 50 seconds into the ISS video clip, the voice of the cosmonaut was heard to say, "It's a ship," as the bizarre lights arrived in view. Before he could say anything else, NASA Ground Control cut his audio off. Then seconds later, the feed itself was terminated. Whether in our skies or hovering in the Earth's outer orbit, the extraterrestrial presence has been expanding at an alarming rate over the last 2 decades. A growing theory posed by concerned researchers and scientists suggests that there could be a correlation between the surge of alien encounters and a natural global crisis that could pave the way to human extinction. A startling Australian climate change analysis has delivered an ominous warning that human civilization is doomed to catastrophe by 2050 if we don't confront the imminent threat of climate change. Their research concludes that climate change is a current and existential national security risk that threatens the premature extinction of Earth-originating intelligent life, or the permanent and drastic destruction of its potential for desirable future development. The world is on a path to the end of human civilization and modern society as we have known it. By 2050, human existence could reach a point of no return, in which the prospect of largely uninhabitable Earth leads to the breakdown of nations and the international order. Life as we know it has already entered its remaining decades. The report urges that the increasingly cataclysmic results of the climate crisis, coupled with the inaction to address it, are sending our planet on a bleak path towards an increasingly chaotic and destitute world. There is the real possibility that human life on Earth may be on the way to extinction in the most horrible way. Within 30 years, 2 billion people globally will be affected by lack of water. Food production will plummet by 1/5 as droughts, heat waves, flooding and storms affect crops. Rising ocean levels will render many of the world's largest cities uninhabitable, including Mumbai, Jakarta, Canton, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Lagos, Bangkok, and Manila. Billions of people will need to be relocated. This will result in disputes over land, resources and water, and potentially lead to war and occupations. An outbreak of infectious diseases such as malaria, dengue, and the Zika virus will occur. This will inevitably lead to forced migrations and enormous refugee problems. In the United States, the Southeast and the Midwestern states will endure bigger, stronger storms and dangerous weather-causing flooding, destroying businesses and homes and crippling farming. The West will experience more droughts and widespread wildfires. In short, our world will destabilize in a way never seen in mankind's history. The current consensus on the cause of climate change is the overabundance of man-made greenhouse gas emissions. But another growing consensus paints a much darker scenario: that extraterrestrials are and have been responsible for Earth's global warming. The theory proposes that by manipulating or controlling the largest corporate producers of greenhouse gas emissions, limiting environmental protections by influencing politicians, and increasing our burning of the fossil fuels that is causing rapid climate change, the ETs have been terraforming the surface of the planet to make it more habitable for them and less habitable for humans. According to the suggestion, their malevolent agenda is to cleanse the Earth of humans by means of extreme weather manipulation. This strategic and subversive tactic against mankind may have been executed from a hidden enemy, equipped with the technology light years beyond ours. By simply altering the electromagnetic properties of the Earth, its atmosphere and oceans, climate change may be easily produced by this advanced technology. Floods, droughts, severe storms are among a few possible catastrophic consequences of this assault. The data that supports this hypothesis is the strong evidence of proportionality between surface temperature and the cumulative UFO sightings over the decades. It has also been suggested that UFO extraterrestrial crafts have contributed to the electromagnetic disturbance of the climate system. One theory suggests the only means of salvaging our race could very well be in the hands of these celestial beings. This would demand channels of communication to open between our world leaders and the alien beings. The dire forecast for mankind's future on Earth has instigated a concerted effort by leading scientists to accelerate our capacity to journey into the cosmos. If mankind can locate and travel to planets that can sustain life, humans may very well escape the perils of their threatened existence on Earth. Elon Musk founded SpaceX in 2002 to revolutionize space travel technology and produce starships for the purpose of interplanetary travel and to one day inhabit other worlds. Recently, the space company launched its first crewed mission, a test flight called Demo 2 that sent 2 NASA astronauts to the International Space Station on a Crew Dragon capsule. It lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida and safely returned to Earth, splashing down on August 2nd, 2020. According to Musk, this is the first giant step to the eventual exploration of space. With the clock ticking, the anticipation of success for SpaceX continues to mount. An instructor at the University of Oxford in England has studied decades of reported alien abductions. His alarming findings reveal a sharp rise in abductions and recently made the shocking claim that the alien abductors have been creating a race of alien-human hybrids to withstand the climate change. Citing the findings of the International Center for Abduction Research, thousands of abductees under hypnotic regression recounted their encounters with the aliens, and many revealed their insidious plot to reprogram the Earth's climate. The extraterrestrials have been producing hybrids that can better withstand the rigors of a scorching hot planet. He suggests that this would help the aliens themselves, who are said to be coexisting with us, preserving portions of their DNA carried by the temperature-tolerant hybrids. The argument rests on the simultaneous increase of abductions and the rising concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide. He surmised that these alien-human hybrids are indistinguishable from humans, but carry 1/4 of alien genes. These hybrids would constitute the next generation of beings to inhabit our planet, long after the humans have vanished from existence. The final chilling claim describes a portion of the human population that are unaware that they have been abducted and carry these alien genes without their knowledge. This makes it entirely possible that you, or someone you know, could be one of them. With the increased proliferation of alien existence on our planet, a burning question has been raised. Do these beings have a home base hidden somewhere on Earth? While many speculate that their base is stationed on the dark side of the Moon, a wider consensus points to the Antarctic as the central zone for alien refuge. Recent photographic evidence reveals a vast habitable area 3 miles beneath the Arctic ice, enough room for millions of these celestial beings to reside. The birth of the Antarctic theory dates back to 1933, when an Admiral Richard Byrd, recipient of the Medal of Honor and pioneering American polar explorer, conducted several expeditions in the Arctic to create mappings of the region. With full naval support, Byrd launched Operation High Jump, an aggressive operation that consisted of 23 aircraft, 13 ships, and 4,700 men. Following Bird's death, a shocking allegation was exposed that Bird had discovered an alien base beneath the Antarctic surface. Contents of his personal journal were supposedly leaked, which described an entrance to what he termed the Hollow Earth. Within this cavernous world was a thriving society of alien beings. The legitimacy of Bird's journal is still debated today, though many scholars believe it to be an accurate account of Bird's extraordinary encounter. According to the transcription, Bird traveled into the hidden base and discovered an alien city known as Agatha. There, Bird communicated with a representative of the alien race named Ariana. Bird was reprimanded for humanity's recent creation of the atomic bomb and warned that a dark age loomed in the horizon if humans continued on this destructive path. Bird was sent on his way with instructions to bring this message back to the world leaders. It has been alleged that Bird's encounter alarmed government officials and he was sworn to secrecy. Bird purportedly stated, "I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and all is duly recorded. The President has been advised. I was detained for several hours and was interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of the United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. I am reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders." In October of 1965, an official report was submitted by the British Antarctic Survey Base on Deception Island, which stated, "Argentine base on Deception Island. Observed a moving coloured light on June 7th, 20th and 3rd of July. Chilean base, also on Deception, made similar observations on the latter two dates. Flickering red, green, yellow light were observed due north. Then it moved in two waves quickly from the west, then reversed along its course for a short distance before returning again to the north, where it remained stationary for about 20 minutes. In March of 1971, the USS Trepang, a submarine under the command of Rear Admiral Dean Reynolds Sackett, was on its journey between Iceland and Norway's Jan Mayen Island in the Atlantic Ocean. While testing its weapons under the ice caps, the submarine came upon an unidentified flying object by accident. Alarmed by what they were seeing, photographs of not one but several crafts were taken. These photographs have remained top secret, but were leaked to a French paranormal magazine by an anonymous source. Experts who have analyzed the photos have declared them credible. More recently, a Navy officer with 20 years' experience stated that he identified an alien base in Antarctica. Flying support missions for the scientific bases, he claimed to have seen UFOs flying across the area several times. In one instance, in an emergency, he flew through a large no-fly zone. What he saw was an enormous hole in the ice. He didn't think much about it until he was reprimanded for flying in the area. He later discovered that military officials were intentionally concealing what was an entrance to a secret alien base.
In a sense, I don't know what the UFO phenomenon is, but I do know what it isn't. And it isn't all weather balloons and hoaxes and misidentifications of perfectly ordinary phenomena and objects. There is something exotic going on, I believe. Now, whether this turns out to be extraterrestrial, whether it turns out to be some other phenomenon that perhaps we don't even have words for or concepts for yet, whether it turns out to be, and this is an area that the MOD did look at a few years ago, some sort of exotic atmospheric plasma phenomena, for example. Again, we don't know. But like I say, this is not all just hoaxes and people making a mistake.
And I would point to some numbers. They're on my web. Some of them are on my website, which can't be explained. And in some cases, you can actually point to where the Air Force explanation completely contradicts what's inside the sighting report itself. If you accept, as I do, that there was some sort of a cover-up going on, why was that? When the first evidence of ET visitation and hardware and so on came along, the U.S. government took the attitude that we couldn't release this to the general public because it had extreme implications for defense. Whoever has flying saucers wins, in a sense. And we don't want our enemies to know that we've got one, because then they might try to get one. So to the extent that we might be able to back engineer the technology, we don't want to tell somebody else that we're trying to do such a thing.
There are many issues on the topic of UFOs that no one's really going to know for sure. But here's something that you can take to the bank. UFOs are real. They're absolutely real. And we know this. We have an overwhelming abundance of data, of documentation that prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there are objects existing that aren't supposed to exist. Officially, in our world, they're not supposed to exist. Whether they're saucer-shaped, triangles, or who knows what other kinds of permutations they may have. Rectangles. These things that can hover in the sky, silently, take off, often rapidly. These are using principles of aviation or flight that are not in the official books today. But someone has got some answers on this because they're doing something there. So that's something you can take to the bank. UFOs are real. Now here's the real question. Are they alien? Now, in my early years of researching this, after I became persuaded that the phenomenon was real, I took it as a given that, well, it had to be alien. It had to be. Because I didn't see the technological breakthroughs during the 1940s and 50s that would have been necessary to get us to that level. Today, I have a little more of a nuanced view of this. I do think that a large number of the true UFOs are not of our civilization. Let's call them alien. But I also believe, I've also come to understand that there's been a great deal of work that was done in the 40s, in Nazi Germany, for instance, and in the United States after the war, that was much more advanced, much more exotic than I had understood at the time. So the question is, are there man-made UFOs? And I think the answer to that is also yes.
The debate of the extraterrestrial agenda rages on. While many speculate of a nefarious intention against humanity, a growing consensus among scientists and scholars speculates that a highly intelligent, technically advanced race of beings would not travel through the cosmos for the sole purpose of destroying a newly discovered life form. It is believed that in time, these beings will extend an invitation to the people of Earth. They will foster our intellectual growth, eliminate sickness, and our need for war. It will be a time when all people of Earth will unite and join our interstellar friends on a glorious adventure, exploring space and discovering new worlds. It will be a renaissance for mankind, a new age of hope and prosperity. That time may come soon. Are you prepared?